a reliable reason to publish a book, but I decided in this case that I would think it was reliable enough. And yeah, I don't really regret publishing Victory. Strange book. Anyway, but there's a fair amount of serendipity. And, you know, readers writing in this book that I just picked up, that was serendipity. Well, there's a system now for that serendipity.
Structured serendipity.
Yeah, structured serendipity. Well, it's like what I say about how the books get chosen, rigorously by whim.
Yes.
I think that as multiple languages are there in the world, and many writers are writing, Gao Xingjiang from China, and many other writers for that matter, don't they need good translators to open themselves up to the world by and large? And don't we need more translated novels or works for that matter? What is your view on it? I seek your view.
I mean, we're doing our best to bring more translated novels to the world. It is true that with certain languages, I mean, one notably Arabic, which is of course an immense language, there are relatively few people who are experienced translators of literature from Arabic. And though well, there are difficulties even signing up books in Arabic that have to do with the relatively unstructured market for Arabic books, and frankly a lot of the violence that segments that part of the world. But if one does sign it up, finding a person who will do a good job on it is difficult, and those people who have a reputation are usually quite busy. And translation is not easy, and so and the editing of translations can be quite time-consuming. So yeah, it is a concern. All right, Colin has a question.
Colin has a question.
Edwin, so you work under the auspices of the New York Review of Books.
Yeah.
Could you say something about the relationship between the book publishing and the magazine?
And the magazine. Editorially, they're really entirely independent and have been from the beginning. The editors of the two editors of the magazine were very hands-on editors who pretty much edited everything in it, and that meant that they were much too busy to bother me, and I was happy to be left to my own devices. But there are, from the point of view of getting the books out there, there's an intimate relationship in that we have a platform for advertising that means, and a platform for advertising that has had, on the average, a readership of 150,000 or so, which means that the existence of the series is certainly reinforced by the bi-weekly appearance of ads for the latest books and by the occasional sales. It's also true that we do direct sales out of the office of the books, and those too can be advertised through the magazine, and that has become a substantial part of the money that we make on the series. So, and editorially, editorially, sometimes Bob would run introductions that I commissioned. They tend to, and there are a few writers, to some extent, two contributors to the review have gotten in touch with me and said, there's this or that book that I think should be in print, and we've ended up doing it. We did, there's a Mark Danner book. So there is some back and forth about editorial things. There are a few writers, like Elliot Weinberger was a writer who first wrote for me and then ended up writing for the review. There's some of that, but and the review sometimes reviews our books. Not always favorably, as you might suppose. I mean, Coetzee made some dig at our translation of Walser, and Adam Thirlwell wrote that less than thoroughly enthused piece about Michael Hoffman's translation of Berlin Alexanderplatz. But you know, all publicity is good publicity, and one can't complain about that. So. You know, it's been an advantageous thing, certainly for us, and maybe to some extent for the review, I think we have a rather younger readership than the review has. The review's average readership is pretty old at this point. And my sense from the bookstore groups and so on is that people who come to our books are younger.
Since you were based in New York, could you please say how many African American writers' works you have published?
We've published not that many. We published a book called Blood on the Forge, which is one of the books about the Great Migration from the south to the north, and which is a fairly crucial book of a novel about Black American history. We've just done a book called Negrophobia by a writer named Darius James, which came out in the 90s. We haven't done that many, and we should do more.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you so very much, Edwin and Joe, for this fascinating conversation. Thank you very much for coming and participating in the conversations. On Friday, the 22nd, we have another conversation also brought to you in collaboration with the Seagull Foundation for the Arts between Paul Holdenbarger, who ran live from the New York Public Library, and author and editor Shandip Roy. So I hope you'll be able to come back to this space for that conversation as well coming Friday. Thank you very much and good evening. Thank you.